What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning into this episode of English Turks, where I review your favorite Turkish series with and without English subtitles. And today, we are going to be doing a summary review of the amazing show called Kalp Yarasi. If you haven't gotten a chance yet, don't forget to click that like button and the subscribe button and even the bell button so that you can be notified every time I post a video. And if you would like to, you can also share this with others that love Turkish dizis as well, especially if they love the show called Kalp Yarasi, because that's what this episode is all about. Let's start talking about this show. I stumbled upon this show after seeing a clip of the breakfast scene right after the wedding, but I didn't know all of this at the time. I just thought that the lead actress of this series look very similar to the lead actress in Son Yaz. Now, it's really funny because the lead female actress for Kalp Yarasi, her name is Yağmur. That's her real life name. And the other character from Son Yaz, her actual character name is Yağmur. So it's really funny. I'm sure they have a few people out there that joked about it in the beginning. This story is about a guy named Ferit who is engaged to one of his best friends, Hande. They are like just prepping everything, and it's three best friends that all grew up together, which is Ferit, Hande, and Yaman. Now, Hande is wealthy just like Ferit, because Ferit comes from a very wealthy family in the area, and Hande comes from probably the second wealthiest family in the area. Their mothers are really good friends, known each other for many, many years. Yaman is actually the son of a caretaker on the property, on Ferit's property. And so basically they were like around the same age growing up. And so they always played together. And as they grew older, they continued to be really good friends. And Ferit's dad treats Yaman like his own son. So they're a day away from their wedding, and Ferit has this horse that he absolutely loves and treats like his very own child. And he ends up going to the stable to check up on the horse. Upon trying to go and check up on the horse, he finds Hande and Yaman making out in one of the horse stalls. So obviously that tears him apart. His fiance is making out with one of his best friends, and so he ends up and going. They both realize that, Ferit probably has seen them. Yaman doesn't seem too concerned about it, but Hande is like flipping her tip, trying to get in contact with him. And Ferit literally like goes home. He's super angry. Everyone is trying to figure out what's wrong with him. He doesn't say anything to anyone, and he just leaves there wherever they live and goes to Istanbul to take, I guess, a few days. I don't know. So I guess it was like a few days before their wedding. I'm not sure. So anyway, Hande, is like calling him, texting him, trying to get him to speak with him. And he's like not saying anything, not doing anything, whatever. Ferit ends up in Istanbul, and he's like, just gets there. He's driving down the street and accidentally hits a dog. There was a lady also on the street that sees this and is immediately concerned for the dog, because she loves animals, and her name is Aisha. So he takes the dog to the hospital. She goes with him, and basically over the next couple of days, they're overseeing the health of this dog and kind of learn just a little bit about each other. He ends up going to like where she works and meeting up with her again and just trying to clear his mind. And Aisha is good for conversation, and they end up just conversing for a little bit, and then he ends up confessing a bit of his story to Aisha, and Aisha comes up with a bit of a solution. Maybe you should just bring someone home to kind of deflect and make it so you don't get all this pressure to continue with this marriage that you no longer want to continue with. And at first he's like, he laughs about the idea, but then his brother comes into town, finds him, and his brother's like, hey, come home. And he really doesn't want to tell anybody about what Hande has done, just because in where he lives, she would be ostracized, completely blacklisted, and he didn't want that to happen for her. He just didn't want to be with her anymore. And so he ends up telling his brother, confessing to his brother what happens. So he ends up, after his brother, spending the night with his brother in the hotel and just kind of like venting and everything, his brother leaves and he decides, hey, you know what? I'm going to go through with this plan. I'm going to go through with this idea and get a female to come home with and basically tell Hyundai I don't want to be with her anymore. I'm going to be with this girl. Put all the blame on me. So the only person he knew that he could do that with would be Aisha, because she's the one that came up with the idea in the first place. Well, Aisha is like immediately offended. She thinks, he's like, I'll pay you. She's offended. She's not a whore. She's not a prostitute, whatever you want to call it. And so she's very upset about this. And he's like, hey, like, I just wanted to do this because it was your idea and all this stuff. So they part ways, and they end up going to make sure that the dog is okay. He pays the bill, even though Aisha didn't want him to pay the bill. He pays the bill for the dog, and then Aisha takes the dog home with her. Aisha also has a friend, and his name is Baha, and he secretly is crushing on her, but she has no feelings for him and lets him know that several times. Well, Aisha doesn't realize how much Baha really, really likes her. So he, he kind of flirts with her, but she puts him in his place every single time. Now, one night as she's walking home, I think it's the very same night, she's walking home and these guys, made a bet with each other, random guys, and she happens to be walking along the street, so they start to bother her and they're pursuing her, and Baha actually was coming down the same road and sees this and intervenes, but in the process of intervening, one of the guys has a knife and tries to stab Baha, but Baha ends up turning the knife on the guy, stabs the guy. The guy ends up in the hospital. Police are called, and Baha ends up going to jail. Now, Aisha feels terrible about this because she knows that he was really defending her, and the guy in the hospital is in the hospital. The other guy that was with him took the actual proof of evidence of everything that happened and ran away with it. So Baha's in jail, and there's no way to really prove his innocence. And so she wants to, Aisha feels really bad. She feels like it's her fault. So she decides she wants to help him the best way that she can. So she goes back to Ferit and agrees to the marriage for the amount of money it's going to take her to hire a lawyer for Baha. Well, she doesn't tell Ferit why she needs the money. She just agrees to do this, and they make an agreement for 6 months. They draw up paperwork. They sign everything in front of a notary, and everything is set in stone. She is going to go back with Ferit, marry him for 6 months so that he can deflect his family off of him and completely erase this whole idea of Hyundai in his life. And, after, he pays her half up front so she's able to get the lawyer for Baha to start the process. Now, in the midst of the whole proceedings for Baha, the lawyer suggests for her to claim Baha is her fiance and that, he's protecting his fiance. So at first she's not into the idea, but she goes along with it because she feels like it's going to make the process easier to get Baha out of jail. So she does this. She writes a statement saying my fiance was protecting me and stuff like that, gives it to the lawyer, and the lawyer is working hard to help Baha. Now, in the meantime, she ends up going with Ferit. She doesn't have very much because she doesn't have a lot of family. She just has a few friends. So she ends up just packing up all her stuff, whatever little stuff she had. She kept her apartment, but she packed up her stuff and left with Ferit to go with him. And she ends up going with Ferit over there. So Ferit gets her this wedding dress and dresses her up, takes her to this wedding. But little did Aisha know was that Hyundai was also at this so-called wedding. And the crazy part is that Ferit told Hyundai several times over the phone he was not going to marry her. But she was was like, no, he's not going to leave me. He's not going to leave me. She just refused to let this go. And this is the general theme throughout this entire series. So they end up going to this wedding. Everybody's shocked because Ferit's showing up with a different bride. A lot of the people left the wedding, especially all of Hande's side. They left the wedding. Her parents are angry because they don't understand what's going on. And then a lot of his family also left, but some stayed as well. His uncle, his aunt, they stayed for the wedding while his immediate family was not there for the wedding. And he does end up going through with the wedding. Aisha did take a bit of convincing because she didn't like the fact that Hande was embarrassed on her wedding day, and Ferit didn't really tell what Hande had did. So she kind of felt bad for Hande at that time, and she didn't want to be like, you know, a homewrecker, walking in and home, you know, just messing everything up. So they do end up getting married. They end up coming home the next day, having breakfast that morning, and that's that scene that I ended up falling into. Now, so this majority of this series is literally just Ferit and Aisha trying to fight for people to believe in their marriage and fight for, you know, their so-called love, you know. And Ferit's mom is basically a dictator, okay? Her name is Azadeh. She's a dictator, and she just wants everyone in the household in this mansion to follow all of her rules. So she's doing everything to, she also doesn't want society to see their family in a bad light. So she pretends to accept Aisha as her daughter-in-law, although she still considers Hande as her daughter-in-law. And in the meantime, Hande's mom finds out what Hande really did and is angry with Hande because she understands why now Ferit is doing everything to protect Hande. And she's also very angry with Yaman because Yaman, who has no remorse for what he did, she just doesn't want, because he's a poor guy, he's a nobody. And Yaman is basically jealous of everything that Ferit has. Jealous that he has Hande, jealous that he, you know, he's rich, jealous that he has all the greater things in life. And so that's why he could care less that he claims that he's obsessively in love with Hande, but Hande doesn't want anything to do with him, even though he feels like Hande does love him as well. So all this to say, like, this series is just full of bits and pieces here and there of just them fighting for people to believe in their marriage, fighting for their so-called love. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I realized in the editing process that it is super long, so I'm going to make a part 2, which will be coming out really, really soon. So don't forget to click that like button, that subscribe button, and that bell button so you're notified when I do. And I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye!